The crowd gasped as Emma's phone screen lit up with the hashtag tearing through her reputation. Emma whispered, "No, this can't be real." Her pulse raced as images of betrayal spread faster than she could breathe. She tried to smile through the pain, but her trembling hands gave her away. Mark leaned closer, his smirk cutting deeper than the trending feed. Mark said, "You thought they loved you, but now they'll eat you alive." Emma's heart collapsed as betrayal echoed louder than the music around her. Chloe reached out, her voice shaking, "Emma, don't look, just don't." But Emma's eyes stayed glued to the screen as her world crumbled. Ethan stood silent in the shadows, recording the chaos, while Sarah's silence felt colder than the mob's cruelty. Emma whispered again, "Why now? Why from him?" The air around her thickened with judgment, as every face in the room turned to watch her fall. Emma clutched her phone tighter, as if breaking it could erase the humiliation. Mark whispered into her ear, "This is only the beginning." Her breath came shallow, her body trembling against the suffocating music. Chloe said, "Emma, please, we can leave, don't let them see you like this." But Emma's gaze stayed locked on the screen where her downfall unfolded. Ethan smirked quietly, recording every moment. Sarah stood frozen, her silence sharper than words. Emma's inner voice screamed, "They've seen everything, there's nowhere to hide." Emma tried to steady her breath, but whispers spread like wildfire. Strangers exchanged mocking glances, their phones glowing as they joined the digital lynching. Chloe begged, "Emma, don't listen to them, it's not true." Mark chuckled low, "Truth doesn't matter, only clicks." Emma's legs weakened as the crowd swallowed her with their stares. Sarah tightened her jaw, refusing to meet her eyes. Ethan muttered under his breath, perfect timing as his phone kept recording. Emma whispered to herself, "Why can't I wake up from this?" The music pounded louder, yet Emma heard nothing but her own heartbeat. Her chest burned with humiliation. Mark leaned back, grinning at the chaos he fueled. Chloe's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "Stay with me, don't break." Emma's voice cracked, "I can't, it's all over." Ethan's phone caught every flicker of her despair, his grin faint but undeniable. Sarah bit her lip, her silence a betrayal carved deeper than words. Emma closed her eyes, wishing the ground would swallow her whole. Emma's phone slipped from her shaking hands, clattering against the floor. The sound cut sharper than the music, drawing every gaze. Mark whispered coldly, "Now they all know who you are." Chloe dropped beside Emma, clutching her arm, "Don't let this define you." Ethan lowered his phone just long enough to smirk at the wreckage he'd captured. Sarah stepped further back, swallowed by her own silence. Emma's tears spilled freely as the world blurred around her, the nightmare now unshakable reality. Morning light poured through Emma's curtains, but her room felt darker than night. Emma whispered, "What do I do now?" as she scrolled through endless headlines mocking her. Chloe sat on the edge of the bed, her voice trembling, "Emma, this doesn't define you." Emma's eyes stung with tears, her voice cracking, "It feels like it does." Mark's smug words echoed in her head, replaying like a curse. Ethan's video already had millions of views, and Sarah's silence carved into her like a wound. Chloe touched her shoulder gently, "They don't know you, not like I do." Emma turned away, afraid of her own reflection. Her breathing trembled as she whispered, "What if I never come back from this?" Emma avoided the mirror as she walked past, afraid to see herself. Chloe followed, pleading, "Emma, don't let them take everything." Emma's voice was hollow, "They already have." The glow of her phone screen illuminated hateful comments that cut deeper than blades. She whispered, "Every word feels like fire." Chloe clenched her fists, desperate, "Then let me be your shield." Emma turned sharply, eyes filled with despair. "What if I'm not worth saving?" Silence lingered, heavy and suffocating, until Chloe whispered, "You are to me." Emma sat on the couch, scrolling through old photos of herself, smiling, the version of her that no longer existed. Her voice cracked, "Look at her, she thought she had everything." Chloe leaned in, whispering, "She still does, she just forgot." Emma's tears stained the screen as hateful headlines popped up with her name in bold. Mark's mocking words and Ethan's betrayal replayed like a chorus of knives. Emma whispered, "They've turned me into a villain I don't even recognize." Chloe said softly, "Then let me remind you who you are." Emma stared blankly at the untouched mug of coffee in front of her, her hands shaking. Chloe said gently, "Eat something, you need your strength." Emma replied coldly, "Strength won't fix what they've done." The screen across the room displayed a news anchor discussing her scandal, images flashing mercilessly. Emma whispered, "I'm nothing but entertainment now." Chloe shook her head firm. "You're still Emma, the one who fought to make people believe in her." Emma's lip quivered as her voice cracked. "Then why do I feel invisible?" Chloe whispered, "Because they can't see what I see." Emma sat by the window, watching the world move on without her. Children laughed outside, strangers walked freely, while her world remained frozen. Emma whispered, "They live without knowing I'm already gone." Chloe pressed a hand on her shoulder, whispering, "You're still here, Emma, with me." Emma turned, her tearful eyes searching, "But what if that's not enough?" Chloe's face softened, her voice steady. "Then I'll hold you until it is." The silence between them carried more weight than the noise outside, a fragile thread holding Emma to the edge of survival. Emma scrolled through her inbox, watching sponsorship after sponsorship vanish with cold rejection letters. Her voice trembled. "They don't even ask if it's true." Chloe sat beside her, whispering, "They just want distance." Emma slammed her laptop shut. "Distance from me means death for everything I built." Mark's words echoed in her mind, the cruel smirk replaying. Ethan's video gained another 1,000,000 views before her eyes. Emma muttered, "I'm falling, and no one wants to catch me." Chloe's voice cracked, "Then I'll catch you." Emma buried her face in her hands, the notifications buzzing like knives in her chest. Emma walked into her favorite cafe, but silence struck as every head turned. Strangers whispered, scrolling their screens. Emma whispered to herself, "They know me, but not the truth." A woman sneered, "That's her." Chloe tightened her grip on Emma's hand, saying softly, "Ignore them." Emma's chest burned with shame as she pulled her hood lower. She whispered, "I used to feel safe here." Chloe said, "You still can, if you let me hold you up." But the weight of stares pierced deeper than words, branding Emma as guilty before she spoke. Emma returned home to find her front door covered with cruel notes and mocking drawings. Her breath caught. "They came here." Chloe tore down the papers furiously, whispering, "Cowards." Emma held one note trembling, the words, "fraud," burned into her mind. She whispered, "I can't escape." Chloe hugged her tight, whispering, "You still have me." Emma's voice cracked, "But what if even you leave?" Chloe's grip tightened, "I want." Emma's knees buckled as the world outside closed in, her home no longer a refuge but a battlefield. Emma sat at the dining table with her family, silence stretching heavy. Sarah stared at her plate, refusing to meet her gaze. Emma whispered, "Say something, please." Sarah's voice was sharp, "I can't defend this." Emma's heart broke. "You believe them?" Sarah's silence cut deeper than words. Chloe whispered, "Emma's not what they say." But Sarah rose from the table, her eyes filled with shame, leaving without another word. Emma whispered into the emptiness, "Even my own blood won't stand by me." Chloe held her hand tighter, her voice trembling. "Then it'll be enough." Emma scrolled social media, each post another stone thrown. Old photos resurfaced, twisted into lies. She whispered, "They've rewritten my life." Chloe said firmly, "They can't erase who you are." Emma's tears blurred the screen as Ethan's smirking video replayed. Mark's comments beneath it read like daggers. Emma whispered, "They're enjoying my death." Chloe pulled her into a hug, whispering, "Then let me keep you alive." Emma's body trembled against her as the storm outside roared, the conflict rising without mercy. Emma sat in her room, clutching her phone, the glow of new headlines washing her face pale. She whispered, "They've destroyed me." Chloe rushed in, breathless, holding her own phone. Chloe said, "Emma, you need to see this." Emma looked up, her eyes swollen. "What now?" Chloe showed her a post. Private messages exposing Mark's plan to frame her. Emma's voice cracked. "It was him." Chloe whispered fiercely, "He did this to you." Emma's chest tightened, betrayal flooding her veins. "Mark. Someone I trusted," she whispered, as the world she thought she knew twisted in her hands. Emma's voice trembled as she whispered, "He set me up." Chloe's voice hardened. "Mark's been feeding Ethan everything. He wanted you gone." Emma shook her head in disbelief. "Why would he do this?" Chloe said, "Envy, power, attention. He never cared." Emma stared at the screen, her chest rising in ragged breaths. She whispered, "I defended him. I believed in him." Chloe gripped her shoulder tightly. "That's how betrayal works, Emma. It comes from those closest." Emma's tears spilled again, but this time they burned with anger instead of despair. Emma replayed Ethan's video, now seeing Mark's reflection smirking in the background. Her whisper turned to rage. "He was there the whole time." Chloe's voice sharpened. "He wanted your fall recorded." Emma slammed her fist against the bed, whispering, "He turned my life into a game." Chloe said softly, "But now you have proof." Emma's breathing quickened, her tears shifting to fury. She whispered, "They thought they killed me, but this changes everything." Chloe nodded, her voice steady. "It's time they saw the truth." Emma's eyes burned with a new fire. Emma whispered, "If I speak, no one will believe me." Chloe said firmly, "Not if we show them the proof." Emma's voice cracked. "But Sarah," she already turned her back. Chloe's eyes softened. "Maybe even she needs to see it." Emma clutched the phone tightly, shaking. She whispered, "It was all him. All this time." Chloe pressed closer, her voice unshaken. "Then you don't need to fight shadows anymore, Emma. You can fight him." Emma's eyes filled with something stronger than tears, resolve. Emma stood by the window, city lights flickering outside. She whispered, "They all thought I was guilty." Chloe said, "Because he made them believe it." Emma's eyes hardened. "Then I'll make them see him." Chloe's voice carried steady strength. "This is your chance to rise, Emma." Emma pressed her phone against her chest, whispering, "No more running." The reflection of her face in the glass looked broken but fierce. She whispered again, "Mark wanted my end, now hell faced the truth." The storm outside mirrored the one rising inside her. Emma stood before the mirror, her hands trembling as she rehearsed the words she would finally release into the world. She whispered, "This is it, no turning back." Chloe stood behind her, steady and fierce. "Show them who you are." Emma's chest rose and fell with shallow breaths, her voice breaking. "I'm terrified." Chloe pressed her hand to Emma's shoulder, whispering, "Fear is proof you're alive, not proof you're weak." Emma locked eyes with her reflection, no longer broken, but burning with fury. She whispered, "Mark thought he could bury me. He has no idea what I'm capable of." Emma walked into the nightclub where it all began, but this time the music felt like war drums. Mark stood at the bar, smug and unshaken, until Emma's glare cut through the crowd. She whispered to herself, "This ends tonight." Chloe followed closely, her eyes locked on Mark, whispering, "He won't win this time." Mark smirked. "Well, if it isn't the star of the show." Emma's voice sliced the air. "No, tonight you are." The crowd sensed tension, their eyes turning toward the storm about to erupt. Emma stopped in front of Mark, her voice sharp, "You destroyed me to feed your ego." Mark chuckled. "No, Emma, you destroyed yourself. I just gave them the story they wanted." Emma slammed her phone on the bar, screen glowing with proof of his betrayal. "Then let them see this," she hissed. The crowd leaned in, screens raised as Ethan's old footage replayed with Mark's smirk in the background. Mark's grin faltered for the first time. Chloe whispered, "They're starting to see him." Emma's breath steadied, her fear melting into fire. Mark's voice rose. "This doesn't prove anything." But his eyes betrayed panic. Emma's voice rang out louder. "It proves everything. You set me up. You made me your sacrifice." Chloe shouted, Everyone saw him in the footage, even if they ignored it before. Phones flashed as the crowd captured every second. Mark's hands clenched, his mask slipping as anger replaced arrogance. Emma whispered coldly, "Your game is over." The weight of truth hung heavy in the air, too sharp to ignore, too clear to deny. Emma's voice shook but never faltered. "You wanted my end. Instead, you gave me my beginning." Mark shouted back, "No one will believe you." Emma held her phone high, the crowd chanting, their voices overpowering his. Chloe whispered, "They see you now, not the lie." Emma's tears burned but did not fall, her body trembling with fury and triumph. She whispered, "This is my life, and you don't get to own it anymore." Mark's voice broke into silence as the mob turned on him. For the first time, Emma felt the storm bend in her favor. Emma sat on the edge of her bed, dawn spilling muted gold across her room. The hum of the city filtered through the window, but she felt wrapped in silence. She whispered, "It's quiet now, but it doesn't feel like peace." Chloe sat beside her, her presence steady, voice soft. "That's because echoes remain even after battles end." Emma's face turned toward the light, pale and tired. They saw Mark's lies. "But that doesn't erase the scars carved into me." Chloe's eyes warmed. "Scars aren't weakness, they prove you survive." Emma let the words linger before whispering, "I'm still standing but not as who I was." Chloe's hand covered hers gently. "No, you're stronger. You've been remade." Emma's eyes closed for a moment, her chest rising with a shaky breath, as if resting for the first time. "Maybe I can finally sleep without dreaming of the noise," she whispered. Chloe smiled faintly. "You can. I'll keep the silence with you." Emma stepped outside into daylight, the world moving past her as if nothing had changed. Strangers walked, children laughed, car horns echoed distantly. She whispered, "The silence feels heavier than the noise ever did." Chloe walked at her side, her hand brushing Emma's, whispering, "It's not heavy, it's freedom. You're no longer under their judgment." Emma's eyes lifted to the clear sky, her lips parting with a fragile sigh. "Free, maybe, but I'm not the same girl they once followed." Chloe smiled faintly. "Change doesn't always mean loss. Sometimes it means you've grown beyond them." Emma exhaled deeply, her steps careful, as if walking on new ground. She whispered, "The storm has passed, but its weight still lingers." Chloe nodded, her grip on Emma's hand tightening. "Then let me carry some of it with you." Emma's voice trembled. "I don't know how to walk forward." Chloe whispered, "You're already walking." Emma sat in a cafe, her coffee untouched, staring across at Sarah. The silence between them felt heavier than words. Emma whispered, "You didn't believe me when I needed you most." Sarah's eyes dropped, her voice small. "I was afraid to fall with you." Emma's voice cracked, "So you left me in the fire." Sarah's hands clenched around her mug, her lips trembling. "I regret it, Emma, every day since." Emma shook her head slowly, her voice sharp but soft. "Regret doesn't heal the wounds of betrayal." Chloe shifted beside Emma, protective, but Emma raised her hand, stopping her. Emma whispered to Sarah, "I forgive you, because holding hate would only kill me, but I will never forget what you didn't do." Sarah's eyes welled with tears, her shame filling the air between them. Silence stretched again, this time not heavy with anger, but with a wound that could never fully close. Emma sat curled on the couch, her phone glowing in her hands. For the first time in weeks, messages filled her feed with words of support instead of venom. Tears welled as she whispered, "They're finally listening." Chloe leaned over, her eyes soft with relief, whispering, "Because the truth is louder now." Emma scrolled slowly, each kind message like a balm and a blade. Her voice trembled, but the scars don't fade with words on a screen. Chloe whispered back, "Healing isn't forgetting. Healing is carrying the weight and walking forward anyway." Emma looked at her, lips trembling into a faint smile. "Then maybe I can stand again." Chloe brushed her hair back softly, whispering, "Not maybe, Emma. You already are." Emma exhaled deeply, her tears falling, not from despair but from a strange, fragile hope. Her chest rose lighter than before, her heart finding space to breathe again. Emma stood at her window as the city lights flickered against the dusk sky. Her reflection stared back, fractured but whole. She whispered, "They tried to erase me, but I'm still here." Chloe stood beside her, voice calm and stronger. Emma pressed her hand to the glass, her breath fogging it faintly, her voice soft. "I may never return to who I was, but maybe I can become someone new." Chloe smiled faintly, her voice a whisper. "That's not weakness, that's survival." Emma's eyes glistened, her chest trembling with the thought of rebirth. "It feels like dying and being born all at once," she whispered. Chloe's hand found hers, steady and warm, then let it be a rebirth. The city outside pulsed like a heartbeat, each light a reminder of life moving forward. Emma whispered again, firmer this time, "I am still here." The words carved themselves into her reflection. Emma walked into the press conference hall, flashes exploding like lightning storms. The cameras stung her eyes, but she kept moving forward, whispering to herself, "They came to see the broken girl." Chloe pressed her hand briefly, whispering, "Then show them you're not broken." Emma stood tall at the podium, the weight of silence pressing against her chest. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the microphones, but her voice carried steadiness she did not feel. "You have heard the lies, the hashtags, the venom. Tonight you will hear the truth." Reporters leaned forward, pens sharpened like blades, their eyes waiting for blood. Emma inhaled deeply, remembering the nights of humiliation, the hours of being torn apart, and whispered only for herself, "Mark thought he could erase me, but I am still here." Her words hung heavy in the room, every ear bracing for the storm. Chloe's eyes never left her, steady like an anchor, reminding Emma that this time she was not alone. Emma lifted her phone, the screen glowing like a weapon in the harsh lights. She whispered into the microphone, "The truth has always been here, but hidden in plain sight." Behind her the projector lit up with Ethan's old footage. The room gasped as Mark's smirk appeared on the frozen frame, the reflection of his betrayal no longer deniable. Reporters scribbled furiously, the noise of pens filling the hall like the sound of chains breaking. Chloe whispered into Emma's ear, "They can't look away now." Emma's voice sharpened with anger, "Mark destroyed me to climb higher, and you," her eyes swept across the room, "you all helped spread his poison." Murmurs rose, guilt and shock painted on faces that once judged her. Emma's throat tightened, but her words did not falter. "He fed you lies, and you devoured me alive." The silence that followed was heavier than the noise of accusation. It was the silence of realization. The door slammed open, and Mark stormed into the hall, rage burning on his face. He shouted, "This is a lie." Cameras spun instantly toward him, catching every bead of sweat on his forehead. Emma's body stiffened, but her voice cut like glass. "No, Mark, this is the truth you built for yourself." His fists tightened, his mask shattering under the glare of flashing bulbs. Chloe stepped closer, her voice steady but loud enough for the crowd. Everyone saw it, even when they chose not to. Mark's face twisted with desperation, his voice cracking, "She's turning you against me." Emma's eyes narrowed as she whispered coldly, "No, Mark, you turned them against yourself the moment you betrayed me." The crowd erupted, reporters shouting questions, microphones shoved forward, every lens capturing his collapse. Mark tried to shout over them, but his voice drowned beneath the roar. For the first time, Emma saw fear in his eyes, and it gave her strength. Emma leaned into the microphones, her breath unsteady, but her voice unbreakable. "You can cancel a name, you can bury a reputation, but you cannot erase the truth." Mark's voice cracked from the back of the hall. "You'll regret this." Emma's eyes locked on him, her voice slicing sharp. "No, Mark, for once you will regret." Chloe whispered softly behind her, "They believe you now." At first, silence filled the room like a weight. Then a single clap broke it, then another, until the applause thundered, swallowing Mark's shouts whole. Emma's eyes glistened as her chest rose with pride and grief at once. "I am not your spectacle," she whispered. "I am not your victim." She gripped the microphone tighter, her voice shaking but steady. "I am still here." The words cracked through the air like lightning, leaving no space for denial. The applause turned to a storm, louder than the mob that once silenced her. The hall emptied slowly, but Emma remained at the podium, staring at the microphone like it held her reflection. She whispered, "They wanted my silence, but I gave them my voice." Chloe approached quietly, her voice soft but unwavering. "And the world will never forget it." Emma's hand traced the cool chrome of the microphone, her fractured reflection staring back with tired eyes, but a fire that refused to die. Her breath trembled as she whispered, "I was their downfall before, but now I will be their reminder." Chloe's eyes softened as she whispered, "This is your ending but also your beginning." Emma closed her eyes, allowing the silence to settle like armor. The applause had faded, the lights dimmed, but her words lingered in the air sharper than a knife. She whispered one last time, almost to herself, "I am still here." The echo carried through the empty hall, the final blow carved into eternity.